Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt that there was a whole world locked behind them, unspoken fears, quiet hopes, truths they'll never hand over easily? We sense it all the time. A friend smiles, but you know their heart is heavy. A colleague talks endlessly, yet you feel the silence beneath their words. People guard their thoughts like fortresses, but at the same time, they ache for someone to truly see them. The Stoics understood this tension well. To know yourself is wisdom, but to understand others is a deeper kind of strength. Because life isn't built on small talk or polite exchanges. It's built on the rare moments when masks slip, when words reach beneath the surface and touch something real. You don't need tricks or manipulation to glimpse that truth. You need only the right questions, questions that open doors others don't even realize they've kept locked. Stay with me. In the next breath, I'll share the first of these questions. Simple on the surface, but it can reveal more than hours of conversation ever could. As we step into the first chapter, picture this. You're sitting across from someone, coffee between you, the noise of the world buzzing faintly in the background. Their words are ordinary, their face calm, yet you sense there's more, something unspoken, a current running beneath the surface. And in that moment you realize connection isn't built on the endless chatter of small talk. It begins with one question that seems simple but strikes straight at the soul. Now imagine, instead of the usual, "How's your week going?" you ask, "What's been the highlight of your week so far?" The difference is sharp. One question invites cliches: busy, fine, same old. The other forces a pause. It makes them sift through the noise and choose one thing, one moment that mattered. And in that pause, a door opens. You see what lifts them, what anchors them, what they hold as worthy. This is where Stoic wisdom cuts in. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." That's not just a line carved in stone. It's a reminder that happiness doesn't come from grand victories or the applause of crowds. It comes from what we choose to notice. When you ask someone about their highlight, you're not just asking about their week, you're asking what their eyes are trained to see. Do they notice kindness, achievement, adventure, stillness? Their answer reveals the lens through which they walk the world. Let me share a moment. Years ago, during a meeting with a new colleague, I set aside the expected rhythm of workplace chatter. Instead of asking about projects or deadlines, I leaned back and asked, "What's been the highlight of your week so far?" She hesitated. Then her face softened and she said, "Honestly, it was helping my neighbor move furniture. She's elderly and was struggling, so I spent my Saturday helping her settle in." That answer told me more than a resume ever could. It showed me her values: service over status, compassion over convenience. Months later, when I needed someone dependable for a demanding project, she was my first call, and she proved me right. Do you see the weight of this? That one simple question had revealed not only her priorities, but her character. She didn't flaunt an accomplishment or boast about recognition. Her joy came from lifting someone else's burden. That's Stoic at its core, the belief that virtue, not applause, is the highest reward. Seneca said it best. "No man can live happily who regards himself alone. He must live for others if he would live for himself." Her highlight embodied that truth. The brilliance of this question is how it reveals different kinds of souls instantly. Career-driven minds will speak of promotions, deadlines met, deals won. Relationship-centered hearts will light up when they speak of dinners with family or long talks with friends. Adventurers will tell you of a trail hiked, a trip taken, a new horizon found. Parents will beam at moments with children, but the words are only half the story. Watch their eyes, their posture, the way their voice rises or softens. You're not just hearing facts, you're seeing where their spirit comes alive. I've asked this in so many places, interviews, dates, conversations with strangers, and it always works. A man once told me his highlight was finally organizing his garage. Simple, right? But what it revealed was order, discipline, a mind that finds satisfaction in structure. Another person spoke of stumbling into a small restaurant nobody knew. That told me they value discovery, the thrill of uncovering what others overlook. These answers aren't trivia, they are keys, unlocking hidden rooms of the soul. Think of it this way: when someone describes their highlight, they're unconsciously revealing what they count as treasure. Some treasure progress, some treasure people, some treasure peace. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. This question shows you what quality their thoughts orbit around. But there's another layer. Sometimes when asked, people hesitate. They say, I can't think of anything. When someone cannot find a highlight, it shows the storm inside them, the weight of struggle that blinds them to light. It tells you they are lost in their storm. And if you listen with compassion, you become the witness they didn't know they needed. Notice also when their highlight happened. Was it at work, in solitude, in laughter with others, in a moment of risk, or in something ordinary that they saw as extraordinary? Each detail paints a portrait. You begin to know where they draw energy, where they collapse, where they hope. And here's the Stoic edge. By seeing what energizes them, you can predict much about their choices. The one whose highlight is recognition will chase applause. The one whose highlight is connection will guard loyalty. The one who lights up at learning will push into new frontiers. Knowing this, you can walk wisely in the relationship, choosing whether to trust, partner, or step back. Life is made of highlights. Some see them daily in the small things. Others miss them even in the grand. This question helps you see not just them, but also yourself. Because in listening to what matters to another, you begin to ask yourself, what was my highlight? What do I count as worthy? And if I cannot answer, what does that say about the way I'm living? So let's end this part with clarity. A question this simple has the power to strip away masks. It doesn't invade, it doesn't demand, yet it opens the gate to truth. Ask it and watch. The answer, the silence, the light in their eyes, it will tell you who they are. And once you see that, you're ready for the next step. Because understanding what energizes someone is only the beginning. The deeper test lies not in what they cherish, but in how they change, and that is where we'll go next. Moving into the second chapter, think of the way a single answer can expose the hidden architecture of a person's life. It's not always the grand declarations or the polished philosophies that reveal who someone is. Sometimes it's the quiet detail, the small moment they choose to highlight that tells you where their heart rests and what their mind worships. Ask someone to name the highlight of their week, and you will see what they notice when the noise of the world quiets down. For one, it might be a new title or achievement. For another, it's a conversation with a friend. For someone else, it's the taste of discovery in a place nobody else has found. The answers are not just words. They are compass points. They are fragments of truth that point toward what makes a life meaningful to that person. Now imagine sitting across from a potential business partner. He leans back, pauses and says, "Honestly, the best part of my week was organizing my garage." Seeing everything in its place, finally ordered. To the casual ear, it's mundane. To the attentive mind, it's revelation. Here is someone who values order, who thrives on structure, who respects completion. Months later, when you're in the thick of a project that demands discipline, who do you want by your side? The one who glows at the thought of order. His answer predicted his reliability more clearly than any sales pitch could. A life reveals itself in the details. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. That very little is different for each soul. For some, it is recognition. For others, it is peace. For others still, it is the quiet rhythm of serving without applause." Here's where another story makes the lesson undeniable. A woman once answered the same question with excitement. She had stumbled upon a hidden restaurant, a place no one else knew. Her eyes lit with a thrill of discovery. What did that reveal? Curiosity, a love for the hidden, a spirit that values being first through a new door. It taught me how to connect with her through shared discoveries, through exchanges of secrets not found on the surface. That's the essence of this question. It shows you where the fire burns, where the spark ignites. But don't only listen to what they say, listen to the silence. If someone struggles, if they say, "I can't think of anything," it's not nothing, it's everything. It reveals they may be walking through shadow, so entangled in problems that joy has slipped from their grasp. The Stoics would see this not as judgment, but as insight. It tells you where they stand, and whether they even recognize the small fragments of light in their life. Their silence is a mirror. It shows not what they lack in experience, but what they lack in attention. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." If someone cannot name a highlight, it may be because they have not trained their eye to notice the good, or because the weight of struggle has dulled their sight. Both are truths worth knowing. Pay attention also to timing. Did their highlight happen at work, at home, alone, in the midst of others? Was it a planned achievement or a spontaneous joy? Each answer sketches a map of where their fulfillment lives. Some are present-focused, noticing the fresh victories of the day. Others are future-driven, already speaking of what they are building toward. Still others reach back to the past, reliving familiar pleasures again and again, showing they value consistency more than novelty. This awareness is not trivial. It tells you whether they walk facing forward, backward, or rooted firmly in now. From here, let's draw the deeper Stoic lesson. The question is not simply about gathering information. It's about understanding how someone frames their own existence. A person who highlights a work victory shows ambition. A parent who speaks of a quiet evening with their child shows devotion. A wanderer who recalls a hidden cafe shows curiosity. And in their voice, in their eyes, in the way their whole body changes as they tell it, you witness the truth of their nature. Seneca taught that life is very short and anxious for those who forget the past, neglect the present, and fear the future. In a single answer, you can see which of these snares they may have fallen into, or whether they've escaped them. Here's the Stoic clarity. What energizes a person directs their choices. The man who craves recognition will bend toward applause. The one who values connection will stay loyal through storms. The one who lights up at discovery will chase horizons. And when you know this, you no longer walk blindly into relationships. You see the patterns before they unfold. You see the destiny they are shaping. That's the power of one question. It arms you with foresight. But there is more. Once you've understood what drives them in the present, you must go further, because knowing where a person finds energy is not enough. You must also know whether they can let go, whether they can grow, whether they can shed an old skin and step into another. And that takes us into the second question, one even sharper, one that slices straight into the marrow of who they are. What's something you used to believe that you don't believe anymore? This is where we move from energy to evolution, from preference to character, from the highlights of a week to the hard-earned lessons of a life. And that, my friend, is where the true measure of wisdom begins. Advancing to the third chapter, picture the way people guard their inner world. Most walk through life with polished masks, speaking in safe phrases, avoiding the raw truth of what matters most. Yet there is a way to slip past the defenses, not by force, but by asking a question so simple it disarms them. If you could change one thing about how people treat each other, what would it be? The brilliance of this question lies in its disguise. It feels hypothetical, harmless, even philosophical. But the answer, it cuts to the bone. It reveals wounds they have carried, values they cling to, the blueprint of their character etched by both pain and hope. Now imagine sitting at a dinner table with someone you are not sure you can trust. The food arrives, the candles flicker, and you ask them this. They pause, lean back, and finally say, "I wish people would stop making promises they don't intend to keep." To most ears, it's a complaint. To you, it's revelation. Integrity matters to this man. Commitment is sacred. Trust is not an abstract concept, it is his oxygen. Later, when he calls you because he will be 5 minutes late, you understand. He wasn't just speaking, he was showing you who he is. The Stoics would nod here. Epictetus reminded us, know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly. This man knew that trust was the thread that held his life together, and he lived by it. Here's where the depth becomes clear. Different answers reveal different souls. One says, "I wish people would be more compassionate." You can almost hear the echo of harshness they once endured. Another says, "I wish people would say what they mean instead of hiding behind politeness." That is not theory, it is the scar tissue of deception. Still another wishes for patience, and you sense the quiet longing. Be patient with me. These answers, spoken as if about the world, are really confessions. They are mirrors held up to their own experience. I once asked a woman this very question. Without hesitation, she said, "I wish people would stop judging others for things they can't control." Her eyes carried the weight of that statement. She had clearly lived under unfair judgment, and in that furnace she had forged empathy. Later, when we worked on a project, she became the one who resolved conflicts, who listened without bias, who created space where everyone felt safe. That answer had predicted her strength before she ever had to prove it. Stoicism teaches us that character is revealed not in proclamations, but in the way we endure and transform injury. Her answer was not just about others, it was about the quiet code she had built inside herself. From here, the question stretches wider. Some focus small: kindness, honesty, gratitude. Others reach large: justice, equality, dignity. The scope of their answer reveals the scope of their vision. Do they see the failures of humanity as personal betrayals or as systemic flaws? Do they think in terms of a conversation or in terms of civilization? Both reveal truths. Both show you where their compass points. And again, listen not only to the content, but to the tone. Frustration reveals old wounds. Hope reveals resilience. Resignation reveals acceptance of what they cannot change. Each is a portrait. Each is a silent confession. Think carefully about what is unsaid. Someone who wishes for gratitude may feel taken for granted. Someone who longs for acceptance may be exhausted from being fixed by others. Words are important, but the shadow behind the words is what matters most. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." When someone answers this question, they are telling you not only what hurt them, but also what their imagination still fears will happen again. This is why it is the most powerful of the five. It is not about theory. It is about the blueprint of trust and betrayal etched across their history. Let's pause for a moment. What would your answer be? What treatment from others do you long to change? That answer says more about you than you realize, and if you feel it, write a single word below, perhaps trust or honesty, and notice how many others carry the same scars. We are more alike than we think. But here lies the Stoic reminder. Values are not lofty ideals for others to uphold. They are the rules we bind ourselves to. If you wish for more honesty, then you must live it first. If you wish for more patience, then practice it daily. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." The answer to this question tells you what a person has lacked from others, but also what they must demand of themselves if they are to live with integrity. This is why the question matters so deeply. It's not just about knowing someone's preference, it is about glimpsing the architecture of their moral universe. With one answer, you know what they will defend, what they cannot tolerate, what they will sacrifice for, and when you know that, you know how to walk with them, or when to walk away. So, hold on to this truth. The third question pierces deeper than the rest. It bypasses masks, slides past defenses, and goes straight to the core. Ask it, listen, and watch how a life unfolds in a single sentence. Because the way someone wants the world to treat others is the way they are begging the world to treat them. And once you understand that, you're ready for the next test. Because knowing someone's values is not enough. You must also know how they stand when the ground shifts beneath them. That is revealed not in words, but in decisions. And so we move into the fourth question, the one that shows you how they act when even they surprise themselves. If this reflection resonates with you, stay close. Subscribe so we can keep walking this path of clarity together. And tell me in one word below, what value do you crave most? Your answer may light the way for someone else still searching. Entering the fourth chapter, think of the moments that catch even us off guard, the times when our own choices shock us. You believe you know yourself, your patterns, your boundaries, and then one decision shatters the image. That is the essence of this question. What is a decision you made that surprised even yourself? It is a window into adaptability, into courage, into the capacity for rebirth. I remember asking it during a meeting, expecting nothing more than routine answers. Then Sarah, the quietest voice in the room, spoke. Everyone knew her as careful, cautious, almost rigid. Yet she said, "I quit my corporate job to start a food truck. I had never cooked professionally. I just knew I had to create something with my own hands." The silence after her words was heavy. This was not the Sarah we thought we knew. Behind the conservative shell was fire, courage, creativity, and the willingness to risk everything for something that mattered. That answer changed how I saw her forever. Later, when we needed someone to lead an innovative project, I knew exactly who to trust. Her surprise revealed her true strength. Here's where Stoic wisdom breathes life into the lesson. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Adapt yourself to the life you've been given, but love the people with whom you share it." Adaptation is not weakness. It is the mark of someone alive to change, willing to bend without breaking. A rigid branch snaps in the storm. A living branch bends, then rises again. When someone can speak of surprising themselves, they show the flexibility that makes survival possible. In contrast, I once asked a man the same question, and he shrugged. "I've never really done anything that surprised me. I'm consistent." On the surface, it sounded steady. But listen deeper, it was a confession of limits. He had never broken his own mold, never tested his own edge. Consistency has value, yes, but when it calcifies into fear of change, it becomes a cage. A person who has never startled themselves has likely never risked enough to grow. From here, notice the tone in the answers. Do they speak with pride, saying, "I can't believe I had the courage to stand up to my boss"? That pride is growth revealed. Do they speak with regret, saying, "I shouldn't have taken that leap"? That regret exposes fear still gripping them. Do they speak with curiosity, marveling at how they tried something new without expectation? That curiosity reveals a mind still learning, still expanding. Each tone is a mirror. Each tone tells you whether the person sees change as evidence of life or as a threat to safety. I once met a man who said, "I'm an introvert. I hate public speaking." But I shocked myself by volunteering to give a presentation at a major conference. Not only did I survive, I loved it. His words told me everything: self-awareness of his tendencies, willingness to confront fear, the discovery of joy hidden inside discomfort. That kind of answer predicts future resilience, because someone who has once surprised themselves knows the taste of breaking chains. They know that identity is not fixed. They know they are larger than the role they've rehearsed. This is where the Stoic perspective deepens the meaning. We are not defined by what we cling to, but by what we are willing to release. Seneca said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." A surprising decision is evidence of that ending and the courage to embrace what follows. It may be small or it may be vast, helping a stranger when you thought you were selfish, walking away from security when you thought you could never leave, or speaking truths when you thought your voice would falter. Each surprise is a fracture in the old shell, and from that fracture, growth escapes. Watch closely whether the surprise came from outside or from within. Did circumstances force them into an unexpected role, showing how they respond under pressure? Or did they themselves step off the known path, proving they can ignite their own transformation? The first reveals resilience in crisis. The second reveals the courage to reinvent without being pushed. Both are truths worth knowing. Both show you who they are becoming. And this is the heart of it. The question does not tell you who they were. It tells you who they might yet be. It measures not their past, but their trajectory. To know someone's capacity for self-surprise is to glimpse the size of their horizon. Those who have dared to surprise themselves are rarely finished. Those who never have may already be standing still. At this stage, let the question linger within you. What choice have you made that startled you into new life? What moment forced you to realize you are more than the script you've memorized? Because in answering that, you discover your own edge. And edges once crossed change you forever. Hold this lesson firmly. Self-surprise is not a crack in character. It is proof of growth. The ones who can marvel at their own unexpected courage are the ones who will adapt endure, and thrive. The rigid will break, the flexible will flourish. And now we turn to the final step. For beyond surprise lies desire. Beyond what shocks us lies what calls us. The last question asks not about the past, but about the deepest hunger within. What would you do if you knew you could not fail? That is where the mask falls away completely, and the soul speaks unguarded. Entering the 5th chapter, imagine stripping away every excuse, every fear, every practical limitation. Imagine asking someone, what would you do if you knew you could not fail? In that instant, the walls fall. The cautious answers vanish. What remains is pure desire, the unfiltered truth of what the soul longs for. This question is not about fantasy, it is about freedom, the freedom to speak what has been silenced by fear of ridicule, fear of loss, fear of falling short. It is a test sharper than any other because it unmasks the hidden compass that directs a life. I remember asking a friend who had been stuck in her work for months. She would complain daily, restless, unfulfilled, but never clear about what she truly wanted. Then, one evening, I asked her this question. She didn't hesitate. Her eyes lit, her voice trembled with certainty. I would open a counseling practice for teenagers, a place where they could speak freely without judgment, a space to fight stigma, to bring healing. That was her truth. Not a safer job, not a promotion, not a pay raise. Healing was what called her. Within months, she enrolled in a program. The answer she gave that night was not a dream. It was a beginning. Sometimes people only need permission to admit what they already know. Here's where the Stoics sharpen the lesson. Seneca once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." This question shows you what a person craves. And it is in craving, not possession, that the soul is revealed. Some crave power, some crave beauty, some crave service. To know this is to know what drives them when no one is watching. To know this is to know what will shape their choices when the world falls silent. Another man I asked, usually quiet and conservative in his business role, suddenly came alive. I'd travel to every country. I'd document disappearing cultures, capture their stories before they fade. In that moment, his disguise slipped. Behind the numbers and spreadsheets was an adventurer, a preserver of memory, a man who loved human connection through the lens of art. Later, when we worked on an international project, those very qualities, curiosity, cultural awareness, creativity, became invaluable. That's the power of this question. It reveals the hidden tools a person carries, tools even they may not be using yet. But notice the pace of their answer. Some speak instantly, as if they've been carrying the dream in their chest for years, waiting for the chance to voice it. That quickness shows authenticity. Others hesitate, struggle, avoid eye contact. That hesitation tells another story. It shows disconnection from desire, perhaps a life spent chasing what others demanded. The answer, or the lack of it, is equally revealing. Pay attention to scale. Some dream of building empires, reshaping industries. Others dream of small sanctuaries of mending one soul at a time. Neither is lesser. The scope of the dream simply reveals the scope of their vision. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." These answers show the quality of thought, whether their mind reaches toward universals or cherishes the intimacy of the particular. Both matter. Both show who they are. There are clues in what is missing. If someone never mentions love, connection or family in their impossible dream. Perhaps they are fiercely independent, or perhaps they are hiding from intimacy. If someone never mentions achievement, perhaps they are devoted to others before themselves. Absence speaks. What is left unsaid can weigh as much as what is declared. The Stoic must listen not just with ears, but with discernment. Another woman once told me, I would create a foundation for free education in forgotten places. Her job was corporate, her world full of meetings and deadlines, yet her heart was fixed on justice, on equality, on lifting those unseen. That answer told me what no resume ever could. It told me where her decisions would lean in every situation, toward fairness, toward dignity. And I saw it later in negotiations, in her leadership, in her insistence on including those overlooked. Her dream revealed her destiny. From here, the Stoic reminder deepens. Desires are not indulgences, they are signposts. They show where we must aim if we wish to live in harmony with ourselves. To ignore them is to fracture. To follow them with courage is to align with nature, with reason, with the order of our own soul. That is why this question matters. It points to the life someone would live if they were not enslaved by fear. So hold this close. When someone tells you what they would do without the possibility of failure, they are showing you their truest self. They are handing you a window into their deepest calling. Whether it is empire, art, or healing, what you hear is not fantasy, it is their essence unveiled. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. This is where the journey of the 5 questions ends. Not in surface chatter, not in practiced masks, but in the raw confession of the soul. To know what a person longs for without fear is to know the essence of who they are. And in that knowledge, connection becomes real, trust becomes possible, and life itself becomes clearer. Remember this, the ability to read another person's mind is not about control. It is not about holding an edge over them. It is about looking deep enough to see the humanity that hides behind their words and gestures. When you truly understand someone's highlights, their growth, their values, their surprises, and their dreams, you move beyond conversation. You enter the realm of connection, the kind that endures storms and builds trust without effort. The most successful people are not always the ones with the sharpest intellect or the brightest talent. They are the ones who understand people. They listen when others rush. They notice when others ignore. They connect when others only transact. That is what gives them influence that lasts. So, as you step away from this video, ask yourself, which question will you carry into your next conversation? Try it and watch how the room changes. These questions are not tricks, they are keys. Use them with sincerity and you will see how walls begin to fall. If this journey gave you something valuable, consider subscribing so we can keep exploring together. Share your voice below with a simple word, maybe truth or values, and let it mark your intention to connect more deeply. Walk forward, knowing that connection is within your reach. You already have what you need to understand others and to be understood in return. Stay ready, because in the next video, we will go even further into the wisdom that makes relationships not only possible, but extraordinary.